которое не было в течение 100 лет. Там, где вместе двигаем эти перемены. Перейдите, пожалуйста, дорогой друг.
This is my first video update from Athens, Greece on this Wednesday morning. Let's talk about some news and let's talk again about the Rishi Sunak UK Ministry of Defense decision to supply Ukraine with depleted uranium. And we heard Vladimir Putin during his press conference with Xi Jinping say that Russia will be forced to respond to this action from the UK ministry. We heard from Lavrov saying that this will end badly for London. And Shoigu, he said that there are not many red lines left for the collective West to cross. And Maria Zakharova, she said this in a statement yesterday on her Telegram. This is what Maria Zakharova said. Britain will transfer depleted uranium ammunition to Ukraine, Deputy Defense Minister Annabel Goldie said. Yugoslav scenario, the shells not only kill but also contaminate the environment and cause cancer in people living on these lands. By the way, it is naive to believe that the victims will be only those against whom all this will be used in Yugoslavia. It was NATO soldiers, Italians in particular, who were the first to suffer. Then they tried for a long time to get compensation from NATO for their lost health, but their claims were denied. When will Ukraine wake up? I'm not talking about Bankova addicts, Ukrainian presidential administration drug addicts and their followers, but what about those who are still able to think their benefactors are poisoning them? So the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman is referencing the depleted uranium that was used in Yugoslavia against Serbia. And from what I understand, the effects of the depleted uranium is still, it's still causing all kinds of horrible illnesses and diseases in Serbia. Even today, it's the effects of that depleted uranium is present. So that's how nasty and dangerous these weapons are. And a viewer sent me an email yesterday, and this references the depleted uranium used in the Gulf War. The effects of depleted uranium use were seen in the Gulf War, with British Royal Navy Commander Robert Greene reporting a surge of unexplained illnesses, cancers, and children born with genetic deformities among the Iraqi people, especially in the south near the battlefields. A confidential UN report leaked in May 1999 similarly concluded regarding depleted uranium weapons, this type of ammunition is nuclear waste and its use is very dangerous and harmful. In the subsequent Iraq War, the following decade, the city of Fallujah was particularly heavily bombarded by depleted uranium weapons by U.S. forces, with Professor Chris Busby, one of the authors of a survey of 4,800 Fallujah residents, writing regarding the connection between these attacks and the rapid increase in cancers and birth defects that followed, quote, to produce an effect like this, some very major mutagenic exposure must have occurred in 2004 when the attacks happened. He concluded that some kind of uranium weapon had to have been the cause. The Fallujah survey by 11 experts covering over 700 households concluded the effects on the population were similar to that in the Hiroshima. Survivors who were exposed to ionizing radiation from the bomb and uranium in the fallout. So from what I understand, the uranium weapons, they create a dust, and this dust is inhaled by the soldiers. It's inhaled by residents in the area. It seeps into the soil, into the land, into the water, and it's just it's just a horrible, horrible weapon to be using. But the Rishi Sunak, Rich Sunak, his government has decided that that they're going to supply these weapons to Ukraine. Now, why is Rishi Sunak and the UK government doing this? Well, one reason that I outlined yesterday was that the collective West, they have accepted the fact that they have lost the conflict in East Ukraine. And if they can't have that territory of East Ukraine, well, then they're going to poison it. And they're going to make the people of East Ukraine suffer. Those people are going to suffer for their choice of wanting to live free as a part of the Russian Federation and not under the rule of the coup government in Kiev, under the rule of the Elensky regime. And so now the Rishi Sunak government, they have decided that they're going to punish the people and they're going to poison the land because they lost the conflict in Ukraine. But another thing that this decision to supply depleted uranium does is that it furthers the goals of the neocons. And the neocons definitely would like to take this conflict nuclear. They would definitely like to move things forward towards a point where a dirty bomb or testing a tactical nuke or using a nuclear weapon is considered. And providing depleted uranium to Ukraine moves us one step closer to the goal of the neocons, which is to get this conflict to a level where there is serious discussion about using nuclear weapons or tactical nukes or dirty bombs or something like that. And that's what this decision does, because the projection of the collective West over the last year, which was that Russia is going to use a nuclear weapon, is obvious now. It's the collective West that all along has been trying to steer this conflict to a point where using nuclear weapons or tactical nukes is acceptable, because there are neocons that believe that they can win a war with Russia, a nuclear war with Russia. They can survive that war. They can definitely survive some sort of a tactical nuclear conflict with Russia. They could come out on top. And so one of the goals of this depleted uranium to Ukraine is that it takes us one step closer to a nuclear weapon type of dialogue, because it's uranium, depleted uranium, but it's uranium. It becomes part of the public discourse. Now it becomes accepted. It's going to be accepted that depleted uranium is being used to fight Russia. And so depleted uranium, tactical nukes, we're closer now. And that's the neocon plan, and that's the neocon collective West panic, and that's also the neocon and collective West projection. Every time that they said that Russia was going to use a nuclear weapon, it was actually them. They were the ones that were considering, that were eager to use nuclear weapons. And their panic is that they are going to lose the war in Ukraine, and they're going to be left with two choices. This is the fear, and this is the panic of the collective West and the neocons. They're going to be left with two choices. The one choice is NATO boots on the ground, and the other choice is going to be using some sort of nuclear weapon. That's what the neocons are going to try and present us with. They're going to realize that they've lost the conflict to Russia. They're already accepting that in the east of Ukraine, and they're going to realize that all of Ukraine is lost. And they're going to present the world with either NATO boots on the ground in order to save Ukraine, or tactical nukes or nuclear weapons in order to defeat Russia. This is where the neocons want to take us. And so that was another reason for Rishi Sunak and the UK Ministry of Defense sending depleted uranium to Ukraine. Rishi Sunak is just doing the bidding of Newland and Sullivan and the neocons and the globalist elite. He's a puppet. The way Rishi Sunak talks, the way he moves, it's a puppet. You can even see videos of Sunak and it looks like someone is holding the strings and moving his arms up and down and and moving his lips. I mean, the guy's mannerisms, everything about him is puppet. It screams puppet. But that's the unelected Prime Minister of the UK, taking us one step closer towards some sort of NATO-Russia conflict or some sort of nuclear conflict with Russia. Another thing that the Sunak government wanted to do was to tarnish, to spoil the 3-day summit between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. So the timing of this revelation that the UK ministry is sending depleted uranium to Ukraine was timed to coincide with the meeting between Putin and Xi. And it's not going to work. All this is going to do is it's going to harden China's stance. It's going to increase China's support and their friendship with Russia. It's going to increase the support of the entire world, of the entire global South, towards Russia. The citizens and the governments of many South American, African, Asian nations are going to look at this decision by the UK and they're going to say these people are freaking out of their minds. They're trying to push us towards a nuclear war, and they're going to support Russia even more. So I think this is going to have the reverse effect than what the Rishi Sunak and the collective West, the Rishi Sunak government and the collective West is hoping for. You could see Xi Jinping's face when Vladimir Putin was saying that the UK is going to be supplying depleted uranium to Ukraine during that press conference. You could see the expression of Xi Jinping. He was horrified. He was upset and horrified. And I'm sure that he knew about this before the press conference. He obviously knew about this before the press conference and the statement from Putin. But even during the press conference, you could see that Xi Jinping was just like, man, these guys are losing their mind. You can tell he had that expression. He looked disgusted, but he also looked upset and determined. And how about Shoigu's face when Putin was announcing the depleted uranium to Ukraine? Man, Shoigu looked really, really mad. This is not going to end well for Rishi Sunak. This is not going to end well for this Sunak government. This is not going to end well at all for them. And from what I understand, the people of the UK, the people in Britain, are absolutely disgusted and upset with this decision from the Rishi Sunak government to send depleted uranium to Ukraine. So this was a very, very bad move by the Sunak government. Not that the Sunak government cares. You know, Rishi Rich, he is a puppet and he's just taking orders. So at the moment, he doesn't care what the people think, but the people are getting very, very upset, Sunak. And sooner or later, your Elensky curse moment is coming. It is on its way. So that's the story. That's the deal with the depleted uranium. We're not going to see any ICC Hague arrest warrants for Sunak. We're not going to see the UN. I would be very surprised if the UN comes out with a statement and says this is unacceptable and this is a war crime. We're not going to see any of that. John Kirby the other day was saying that any Chinese peace deal, any peace deal in Ukraine is unacceptable because the Elensky government and the United States will not accept losing territory in the east of Ukraine to Russia. That's what Kirby said. The U.S. will not accept losing territory in the east of Ukraine to Russia. And this is the territory that the Ukraine military will now poison with uranium. And Elensky gets on the video screen every night, and he gives this video statement, and he talks about how he is going to liberate the east of Ukraine and Crimea. Now, how in God's name, Elensky, are you going to liberate the east of Ukraine when at the same time you're going to be bombing them and destroying their land and causing cancer in their population for decades to come with depleted uranium? These are the people that you're planning on governing. These are the people that you're going to liberate. This is the land that you're going to liberate, Elensky. The land that you're now poisoning with depleted uranium. Of course not. It's an admission from the collective West that they lost the conflict in Ukraine. And that's what's happening in Bakhmut. That's what's happening in Avdiivka. The Ukraine military is losing. They're losing bad. And what did Richie Rich Sunak decide? What did his puppeteers, his little puppeteers that are making Sunak move? Sunak, move your hand up. Sunak, move your hand down. Sunak, move your lips. Move your lips. Richie Rich Sunak, what did they decide to do? They said, you know what? We've lost the east of Ukraine, so we might as well poison the land and poison the people. That's how they accept the military loss. So what's going to happen when they are on the brink of losing all of Ukraine? What are they going to decide? What decision are they going to make when they're about to lose the entire conflict in Ukraine? NATO boots or tactical nukes? What are the neocons going to come up with? Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's now talk about the Viktor Orban government. They made 3 decisions over the past couple of days, which I think are very interesting decisions. And not many people are talking about this, at least not the collectivist media. They're not talking about the decisions made by the Viktor Orban government, but I'm going to discuss the decisions that the Viktor Orban government made. 3 decisions that they took, 3 statements that they made over the past couple of days. The first statement that the Viktor Orban government made was that Ukraine has 0 chance of entering NATO or the European Union unless they stop persecuting the ethnic Hungarians in the western region of Transcarpathia. That is a statement from the Viktor Orban government. And for the Viktor Orban government to say that Ukraine, the Elensky government, the Elensky regime, is not going to get into the EU or NATO unless they respect the rights of ethnic Hungarians who are Ukraine citizens, but they're ethnic Hungarians. Unless they respect their human rights, they will not get into the European Union or NATO. Well, that means that ethnic Hungarians are being persecuted. That is what Viktor Orban is saying. He is saying to the Elensky regime, stop persecuting, stop trampling on the human rights of ethnic Hungarians who reside in this region. If you don't stop trampling on the human rights of these people, then we will veto any suggestion of Ukraine entering the EU or NATO. So it is an admission from the Orban government that the Elensky government is persecuting its very own citizens because they are of a different ethnicity. They speak a different language. They may have a different religion. They may look different, and for that reason, the Elensky regime is trampling on their human rights. Those EU values that they love to talk about all the time, they don't carry over to the Hungarians, the ethnic Hungarians living in the west of Ukraine. So that was the first statement that the Viktor Orban government made. The second statement that the Viktor Orban government made is that they will not sign up to this EU Jungle Joseph Borrell statement in support of the ICC Hague arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. So Jungle Joseph Borrell, he wanted all EU member states to jointly put together a statement saying that they support the ICC, the criminal court, the International Criminal Court. They support the decision to issue an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. And that is what Jungle Joseph Borrell was pushing EU member states to sign up to. And every EU member state, they agreed to take part in this joint statement, except for one country, and that is Hungary, and that is Viktor Orban. Good on you, Viktor Orban. And this really pissed off Jungle Joseph because he couldn't issue a statement from the European Union with all of the EU member states signed up to the statement, and he had to issue a statement by himself. So Jungle Joseph Borrell had to issue a statement as the foreign policy chief of the European Union, saying that Jungle Joseph Borrell supports the decision of the ICC to issue an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. So good on you, Viktor Orban. Good on you, Hungary, for spoiling Jungle Joseph's ICC EU statement. Very, very cool. And the final thing that Hungary did, the final statement, is that the final decision, actually, because it's a decision that the Orban government took, is that they will not take part in the latest EU slush fund. And this is a slush fund that the EU is putting together, a 2 billion euro slush fund. And this is a slush fund to purchase and to provide ammunition to the Elensky regime. So whenever the European Union, whenever they come up with a slush fund, they come up with the idea for a slush fund, it's all about the 10% for the big guy. You know what I mean? Whenever they create a fund, we're talking about 10% for the big guy type of situations. And so what did the EU think up with this ammunition slush fund? They said that the EU is going to put 2 billion euros into a pot, into this slush fund. 1 billion of those euros is going to be used in order to procure the production of ammunition, 155 ammo to give to the Elensky regime. So that's what 1 billion of these 1 billion of these euros is going to go towards, is trying to find providers for this production and providers for this 155 to give over to the Elensky regime, and this is going to take a couple of years, according to the EU. So that's 1 billion. The other billion of this slush fund is going to go to EU member states as a payoff if they empty out their stockpiles of 155 ammunition and hand it over to Elensky. So the grift is crystal clear. And the government of Viktor Orban, they said that they're not going to take part in this grift. They said that they don't want to escalate the conflict with Russia, and that's what this slush fund and this grift does. And it shows that they're not corrupt. It shows that they are not corrupt. And you know, this ammunition that's sitting in warehouses, it's stockpiled in warehouses because this is ammo that serves a national security purpose, right? I mean, that's why you keep it in your warehouse, and that's why you have it there, because you never know. And so this ammunition is for national security reasons, and it's all been paid up. This has been produced, it's been budgeted, it's been paid for, and now it's just sitting in the warehouses of EU member states. And, Hungary is like, look, we don't want to escalate with Russia, and this ammunition, well, it's ammunition of the Hungarian military. That's what it's there for. And it's there to serve a purpose. God forbid that Hungary has to use this ammunition, but that's why we have it in the warehouse. And so the EU is trying to get member states to empty out their stockpiles of this ammo. And in return, the EU is going to pay them off. It's going to pay off the politicians to hand over this ammunition to Elensky. Once again, this ammunition has already been paid for by the member states. They've already paid for this. This is not ammunition that they're going to produce. This is ammunition that has already been produced, and it's already been paid for. The taxpayers of the countries have already paid for it, and it's there in the warehouse. And along comes the European Union, and they say, you know what? We'll buy that ammunition from you. We'll pay you for that ammo, and you can hand it over to the Elensky regime. So we'll demilitarize you, and we'll pay off your politicians, and they can hand over their national security to the Elensky regime. And everyone makes their 10% for the big guy. Everyone makes their 10% for the big guy. It's a grift. It's an obvious grift. That's why the EU creates these slush funds. And good on Viktor Orban for not taking part in this grift. It shows that the Viktor Orban government is not corrupt. Because the EU, they always tell us that the Orban government is totalitarian, authoritarian, and corrupt. Projection. We now see that the Viktor Orban government is not corrupt. At least in this instance, they're not corrupt. Because if they were corrupt, they would have jumped at the opportunity. They would have said, great, you're going to pay us money for this ammunition? Okay. Give us a couple $100 billion, and we'll give this ammunition to Elensky. Thank you very much. Here's your cut. EU will take our cut, and there we go. But they're not going to take part in this scheme. So 3 big decisions from Hungary, and I thought I would highlight those decisions. Now let's talk about 2 quick stories, and then we'll get to our clown world. Let's talk about the Japanese Prime Minister visiting Kiev. Kishida, under the orders, what I believe, under the orders of Nuland and Sullivan, the Prime Minister of Japan, visited Elensky in Kiev. And because Japan is going to be hosting the G7, Kishida was ordered to go to Elensky and to extend an invitation to Elensky so that he can participate in the next G7 meeting, which will be taking place in Japan. And Kishida also told Elensky when he was meeting him in Kiev, and all of this is with the approval of the Russian government. The Russian government will not let the Japanese Prime Minister travel to Kiev if they did not guarantee his safety. But the other thing that Kishida promised Elensky is that during the G7 meeting that would be taking place in Japan, and I believe it's going to take place, I want to say September, but I could be wrong about that. But during this G7 meeting, the Prime Minister of Japan promised Elensky that top of the agenda would be reconstruction money from the G7 towards Ukraine. So that was the purpose of the Japanese Prime Minister's trip to Kiev, to offer the invitation to the G7 via video to Elensky, and to tell Elensky that Japan would be placing a top priority during the G7 meeting of reconstruction money towards Ukraine. Let's do one more story, and we'll get to a quick clown world as well. Let's talk about Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy. She was the chosen one. She was going to be different. She was anti-globalist and anti-neoliberal and anti-Soros and anti-Schwab. She was going to be the one that takes on the globalist neoliberal powers in the European Union, right? That was Giorgia Meloni. She was going to be different. She was the chosen one. Nope. She's just like all the rest. She is no different than any of the other EU globalist neoliberal puppet leaders. Because Giorgia Meloni, she said the other day, let me get this quote. She said that she is ready to go against the public's will in order to defend freedom and democracy in Ukraine. She is going to support Elensky for as long as it takes, even if it means that her popularity takes a hit, even if it goes against the will and the wishes of the Italian public. She doesn't care. She will support Elensky. No different. She is no different than Annalena Baerbock, who said the same thing. The German foreign minister, a few months back, said that Germany will support Ukraine no matter what, and that Germany doesn't care what German citizens think. They don't care how German citizens vote. They don't care, Annalena Baerbock said. The government will support Ukraine. And so this is Giorgia Meloni saying the same thing. She's no different. She is no different. Maybe she comes in a different packaging. She comes in a different wrapper. But once you open up that packaging, it's all the same. It's the same neoliberalism, the same globalism, the same Schwab, the same Soros, the same Newland and Sullivan. Once you open up that packaging, you get to the same product. NATO, EU, as long as it takes. Giorgia Meloni. Anyway, that was an interesting statement from Meloni. Now let's do a clown world. And this is a title, a post from Politico. It has a picture of Elensky, a very sad picture of Elensky. He looks very sad, very heartbroken. And the title says, "Call me anytime. Elensky plays the long game with Xi Jinping. Ukraine is conspicuously diplomatic in its dealings with Vladimir Putin's top ally." And then you have that image of Elensky, that face. He looks so sad. He looks so sad as he waits for Xi Jinping's call. Please call me, Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, please call me. I'm sitting by the phone. I'm by the phone and I'm waiting for your call. Please call me. Please call me, Xi Jinping. He looks so sad. So sad. Oh, man. Joe Biden, the Biden White House, they're trying to set up a call with China, and they're getting ghosted. China isn't replying to the Biden White House. So sad. So sad. The Biden White House can't schedule a call with China. I'm sure that sometime in the next week or two, they'll eventually schedule a call. But for now, Xi Jinping is not replying to the Biden White House to set up a call. Meanwhile, Elensky is sad because Xi Jinping is not calling him. Oh boy, poor Elensky. Poor Elensky. I just met you, and this may sound crazy, but here's my number. Call me, maybe? Anyway, that's the video. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble and Rockfin, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram. And go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.